Now, after we are satisfied with our background map, I'm going to switch on our historical map again. And of course, I will it on top of everything else, because what are we going to do now is to digitize the information which are contained in our historical map from Haiti. I will zoom in a little bit, because now we have to decide what we actually want to digitize from it. And you can see we have the settlements, we have the road system, we also have the rivers. We're not going to digitize the rivers because that's a lot of work. And we have the départements. And we are going to digitize the settlements, the département borders, and the road systems. And besides that, we also have in some places, we have fortifications like here, here, and here, marked by this symbol. And of course, we also have toponyms from rivers, from mountains, and from maritime features like this bay. We are also not going to digitize it. It will be simply too much work. But of course, if you are working in a specific region and you want to produce a perfect map, you can clearly do that, and it will be the same steps than we are using now for the settlements and the départements. Of course, we have a legend, so you can see what different types of settlements we have, and we will use that in a further step to annotate them directly with that information. But first we are going to create a small database which will contain all the information from our digitization process. So the big benefit of it is that we can very easily transform the data to someone else or to a different machine, because it will be stored all in one file, which is, in my opinion, an extreme big benefit over using simple files like shape files. Therefore, we'll go to vector, to layer, and we go to create layer, and we're going to new geopackage layer. A geopackage is basically a very limited SQL database, but for the most things we do in QGIS, it will be definitely enough. And if you understand how the geopackages work, you are also able to work with more complicated and more sophisticated database systems like PostgreSQL or MySQL. So we click it, and now we go to the 3 points. I will now go to our Haiti, and I will make a new one, call it Haiti database. And I will name it here. I will simply call it Haiti database. Save. And now we have to name the first table, and I will call it settlements. And the settlement will be described best with points, in my opinion. So we choose geometry type point. Of course, now we have to set the right coordinate system like this. Always control it carefully, because otherwise you run into problems very easily. And now we have to define all the fields we want to attribute to our settlements. And of course, we want the name. This one is the name of the field, and I will simply call it name. Again, in this case, it means the name of the settlement. Here you can give like a maximum length of the field, and I always recommend you to use it, because if you leave it empty, it will be possible to enter endless text in it, and people will do that. So limit it down to 35 maybe, so everyone who is using your database will clearly recognize that's not meant for storing big articles. And of course, that should be a text. Okay, we name it like that. And now we are going for settlement type. Oops. And here I will set it to integer. You might ask why he's now using a number value in the field settlement type, and I will show you in the next step why we are going to use it. So we're going to add field list, and now we will leave it like it is, and you always have the possibility to add more information to it. For example, you could have the possibility to also enter the population. I will just add it. And of course, that's also a number. We don't need to define a length. That should be all. And now I will click OK. Now, in the next step, we are going to create the next table. And we go again to layer, create layer, new GeoPackage layer. Now click the 3 points again. And of course, now we will not create a new database. We will open the old one. And now we will call this one settlement type. And this one will contain no geometry. Again, you might ask yourself, why not? You will see. And I will click here and we'll enter again settlement type, and we just need this field. That's all. And now we click OK. Now he will ask if we want to overwrite our file or if we simply want to add a new layer. And of course we want to add a new layer because we want both information inside our small database. Okay. Now I will zoom to my legend for my map. And now I will open the settlement type list. You always can open all your files in QGIS by right-clicking it and go to Open Attribute Table. If you have two screens, it's helpful because then you can open it on the other one. Now, this actually works like a spreadsheet. So if you go to toggle editing mode, that's very important that you always need to make your file editable. And now you can see also here this small yellow pen will be highlighted and you have more functionalities. And what we are going to do now is to add a feature. Click this button. Now automatically an ID will be given, which is really helpful. And we will call the first one Capital de la Okay, now I will fill out all the other ones and you don't need to watch me desperately trying to find all these strange French signs, and I will come back to you when I'm done with it. Now I entered all the different types of settlements, and beside the ones mentioned in our legend, I also added the fortifications. Now if you press the save button, you see now it's automatically an ID is being given, and that's a very important thing, and we will see now why that is so important. Now you can of course switch off the editing mode and can close your list. Again, if you want to re-access it, simple click with the right mouse button, and here directly in the middle there's the Open Attribute Table, and if you mistyped something or you need another entry, go again for the editing mode. Now you can write here or can use this one for adding a new feature. So in the next step, first maybe we will make a new group and we'll call it database. Put it on top. And we'll put our settlement type and our settlements list inside this one. will facilitate a lot of things using these groups, because sometimes you end up with endless lists of files, and that makes the things, of course, much easier. So now we will go for our settlements point file. We will click it again with the right mouse button and we go to properties. Now a new window will open with a lot of functionalities, but the only thing we are going to use is this one, attribute form. Now you can see here, of course, all the information which are being stored in our file. And now we go to our settlement type. Now here you can enter how new data should be handled. Should it be editable? Of course, because we enter data. And here we have the possibility to tick a box, we use last entered value. In that case, that's a very useful thing, and I will tick it. And now here in the widget type, as it is a number, which is also indicated here by the numbers in front of it, it can contain a range of numbers. But what we want to do is this one, the value relation. And if you click it, now you can see you can choose another layer, and we will of course choose our settlement type layer. Our key column are the IDs, which are produced automatically by the system, and our value column are the settlement types. So what are we going to do now? We will use our settlement type list to fill out the form settlement type in our main table. Here now you can enter different things like allow null value. So if you have the possibility to skip it, in that case, that doesn't make any sense, because all our settlement types are directly derived from our historical map. So they clearly to be identify which types they are. But of course, if you have a long list of places you want to digitize and that is unclear, you also can of course push here the allow null value, so you don't need to fill out the field. Here you have the possibility to tick a box allow multiple selections, and I've seen that quite sometimes that people try to use it and enter different numbers of columns so that you can tick a lot of boxes, but that won't work in the end. You might store the data in the table, but you won't be able to analyze it. Never use it. That's a very simple recommendation, because it's not fully supported by the geo package and also not by other databases. So leave it like it is. Again, please set it to editable, to reuse last entered value. Go here for the value relation. Set the layer settlement type, key column are the IDs, and our value column are the settlement types. Now press OK. And now I will go to Santo Domingo, and I will do now is I will go to the settlement and now set this one to editable. And now here you have a symbol add point feature. It's directly 3 on the right from the pen. And now you see your cursor will change. Now it looks like this one. And now you can click on Santo Domingo. And now we will type Santo Domingo. And it's already right, it's a capital de la Republique. I don't know the population number. And I click it. And now we can go for the next place. Sometimes a little bit difficult to read them. And again, click it. And this one is called Ferry. And this settlement type is not Capital de la Republique. We have to go back to our list. It's just a village. And we will click this one. And now we go for the next village, this one. And now you can see here in the settlement type a very, very nice thing. As we push the button, we use last value, it would always take the value you entered in the data set before. So you can enter all the data in a row without the need to change that field. That of course makes just sense if you have many data from the same type. Here with the villages, that's extremely helpful. So just click them, go to a bigger one, like this one. And again, I think this one is a chef-lieu d'arrondissement. Click it. And now if you go for the next capital of arrondissement, here it's filled out. I entered like 50 of these settlements. You can do it as you like. Of course, they're not always that easy to read. And if you have problems reading it, you can of course go to Open Layers plugin and to switch on the OpenStreetMap. Sometimes the names haven't changed in the last 200 years and they're much more easy to read on this one, so that can be a big help when entering those data. Now again, I will make a cut and I will show you what I've done with it when I finished the entering of my data. So now I'm done with my digitization process of the settlements and the fortifications. We're going to have a look for them. We go to settlements and open the attribute table. And now you can see all the settlements described with the settlement type. Of course, I don't know the population. If you know it, you could have the possibility to enter it here. If you mistyped something, or what happens quite easily, especially if you reuse the last value functionality and it's wrong, editing button again, and now you also have here the possibility to change it within this list. And of course, if you mistype something, you can of course change it. Close it again. And now you realize it's quite hard to see what it's going on, because the symbol which is chosen automatically is not really good. These small yellow dots, so you don't know where you actually already worked and which parts are missing. We will change that now. Take care that your settlement layer is chosen and go to your layer styling panel. And you can see it's a single symbol, and just make it a red dot. That's all. So now it's much easier to see where you already have worked and which parts are still missing. In the next step, we will go for a little bit more complicated thing for digitizing the départements. And in the last step, we will also digitize the road system.